been round United Texas town, about to check outside the game.
What's up, guys? It's Dan here, and it's time for my take on a Michael Kors fragrance. And that fragrance is Michael for Men, brought to us in 2001. Now, I believe this is the only male fragrance that comes from this house. And I originally received this sample from the Cologne one, and I wore it one day, and then that night I went to my parents' house and I had the sample in my pocket, and I was going to dig it out, and it was coming out hard, and I kind of yanked at it, and she came apart. All over my pants, you know? So I learned a valuable lesson that day, that those samples, if pulled hard enough, will come apart. So I was a little bummed that my sample was gone, but I realized after that first day that I liked this fragrance well enough just to go ahead and buy a bottle. And what's great about this fragrance is it's very inexpensive. I think I got my 2.5 ounce bottle for around like 25 bucks. So that's great. You can't beat that for a fragrance like this. Now, as far as the perfumer behind this, the perfumer is Harry Fremont, who is also known for CK1, Kenneth Cole Black, and Polo Sport. And as far as the notes in this, we have got coriander, fir resin, and tarragon, star anise, caraway, bergamot, and cardamom. And at the heart, we have got tobacco, incense, and suede. And at the base, we have got sandalwood, plum, patchouli, and dried fruits. Now, as far as what I get out of this, the overall feel of this fragrance is going to be a warm and rich, dark fruit, tobacco, leathery, incensey scent. You know, great for cooler weather, for sure. And as far as how this plays off on my skin, the best way that I can think of to describe this fragrance is if you had a bowl that was made out of leather and it was filled with tobacco and somebody sprinkled like some plum wine over the tobacco, and you were taking a whiff of that bowl. And in that same room, somewhere in the background, somebody was burning some incense. So you were getting a little bit of that as well. You know, people talk about this fragrance and other ones, you know, that are fruity, that have a boozy vibe to them. And I don't really get that, you know. In my younger years, a bottle of booze was one of my best friends, you know. Spent a lot of time around booze, and I never really get the boozy aspect of that when you're talking about like plum fragrances or fruity fragrances like that, dark fruits. Now, I can see a boozy aspect though if you're talking about wine, and that's why I mentioned the bowl of tobacco being sprinkled with plum wine. That I can totally see for sure. Now, I get that for a good couple of hours, but after about a half hour to an hour, this fragrance really tones down and gets closer to the skin. And after the 2 hour mark, that's when it starts to take a change. Now, there's no Tonka Bean listed in the notes here at all, but that's what I get. After the 2 hour mark, the Tonka Bean starts to come into play. I lose the leather vibe, I lose the incense vibe, I keep the tobacco nice and strong, and the plum note in this is very fickle. Sometimes I will have that plum note. Granted, it gets very weak after the 2 hour mark, but sometimes I will have it for 8 hours. Sometimes it disappears after the 2 hour mark, and sometimes it comes in and out. Goes away, comes back, goes away, comes back. But the tobacco and the Tonka Bean are there for sure. And what it really kind of reminds me of, is like a very weak tobacco vanilla. Except without the vanilla. It's got the Tonka Bean there. But that's what it reminds me of for sure. And then after 8 hours, this one still goes on strong for quite a few hours, but it just remains Tonka Bean, and that's it until she's dead. Now, what this fragrance really reminds me of, I spent many days with this one and other ones, just sniffing the hell out of them, figuring this one out. But what this fragrance really reminds me of is John Varvatos Original. Now, it's not exactly the same. You don't get the heavy tobacco, you don't get the incense, you know. And John Varvatos Original, the fruit in that is a lot louder than it is in this one, and a lot brighter for sure. But it's funny, when I originally did my John Varvatos review, I went off the notes on base notes, and they got all them crazy notes on there. But with my experience with this fragrance, I checked on Fragrantica for the notes in John Varvatos Original, and what do you know? What's in there? Plum! So I don't know. I'm willing to bet that some of the notes on Fragrantica are right for John Varvatos Original, because that plum note that's in that is just like the one that's in this, for sure. But as far as projection though, that's where this one fails a little bit for me, because this one does sit really close to the skin. This one I wore for many days at work, and I did not really get noticed. Very, very few times. The only times I really got noticed was after I initially put this on, because after about a half hour later, you know, it dies down quick. So for me, that kind of bites, because I like my fragrances to be a little bit louder. But if you're looking for, you know, a rich and warm tobacco leathery scent that does sit closer to your skin, this would be a definite excellent look into for sure. You know, the flavor's excellent, the longevity is there, so that's great. Okay, as far as the women at work go, this one actually did very well when they could smell it. The most comments I got were after the initial application, because like I said, quickly this one tones down and sits closer to the skin and doesn't really get noticed. But the people that did get their nose on this loved it. Great things to say about it, and not any negative feedback at all, so that's awesome. Now, as far as reviews in the community on Fragrantica, we have got way more loves and likes than we have dislikes, and on base notes we have got 73 positives, 12 neutral, and 14 negative. So lots of love, a little bit of hate, and my man Luca Turret, I don't know, I give up. He gives this one a 1 star. Man, a 1 star! I personally would give this fragrance a 4 star. It's just falling a little bit in certain areas that I'm concerned about, like with the plum fruit that's fickle, that comes in and out. And personally, I like my fragrances to be a little louder than this one, but the flavor in this one rocks for sure. And if you're looking for a scent like this that sits closer to the skin, give this one a check out for sure. Now, as far as Amanda goes, she is not here to give her opinion, but of course I did have her sniff this one out, and she said that she liked it, and she liked the dry down better than the top though. She seemed to like the Tonka Bean tobacco type flavor in the dry down of this, but that's it, guys. I got a few different things to say about this fragrance and some of the other people, but that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and we will see you soon.